the culture. We are recording this call for educational and promotional purposes. So I stop there. Edwin, or continue?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so we'd like to do a round of short check-ins. Take about 30 seconds to share any questions, comments from your last session, or how was the empathy buddy call, or any short report from facilitating an empathy circle this last week. Would anyone like to begin the check-ins? If not, I'll just call on Paul. Will you do a check-in, please?
I will. Thanks, Larry. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I've had a good day. I'm a little bit tired. I've been out digging in my allotment, planting some family warmed up in the UK, so I've got some seeds in today. So that was nice. I've been doing a bit of work today, but that's okay. And I had a great buddy call with Marta this morning. And yeah, no, I'm just enjoying the course enormously and looking forward to today. I've got no questions. Thanks, Larry. Thank
you, Paul. Joelle?
Hi, everybody. I had a great buddy meeting with Deborah. Since this is all so new to me, I'm still surprised by things like how fast 15 minutes can go by in a good way, and how it opens up new things to think about. So, and I don't have any questions or anything.
Deborah, would you go? Thank you, Joelle.
Yeah, like Joelle, I really enjoyed the call with her, and yeah, that 15 minutes really enables you to sort of peel back more layers and go deeper. And I think it's a great part of the course. I really do. I haven't run an empathy circle this week, and I'm just looking forward to tonight. So bring it on.
Thank you, Deborah. Freddie?
Hello, everyone. I had a nice buddy call with Monica. Was it supposed to be 15 minutes? That's the question. And I haven't done an empathy circle this week. I missed last week. So I'm keen to be back and get back on it. So thank you.
Thank you, Freddie. Ron?
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I had a buddy call with Monica, and I found it a really valuable experience, and it was good to share and to get to know Monica a little bit better. I haven't been involved in any. The remnants of Cohort 11 meet on Thursdays at 3 o'clock New Zealand time. So I've had that as an empathy circle experience, and there is an invitation to any of you in this cohort to join that one. It's an empathy cafe. So it's 3 o'clock Thursdays, New Zealand time. I don't know what that is in the other time zones, but if anybody wants to know, they could either message me or put it in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Shay?
Hi, hello. So I have a buddy call with Aaron. It was very interesting to see him from his point of view. And also I asked a few days ago my family, my mother and my sister, if they would like to experience a circle, an empathy circle. And they agreed, and we did it. And it raised many, many things that were very important to us. So it became a very good experience. And it's also started from the place of not wanting to share. And sharing from there can raise many, many very interesting things and open very important things. So it was great.
Thank you, Shay. Michelle? Oops, I caught you taking a sip of tea. Sorry about that.
No worries. Yeah, I am admittedly really tired. I have an MS and I think I'm experiencing a bit of a fatigue issue, which is not uncommon. But I really love the work that we're doing here. So I wanted to be here for it. So I am here. I don't have a Empathy Circle facilitation that I've done this week. I do have one on the schedule. I think it's for this Saturday coming up. So that will be exciting and nerve-wracking all at the same time. So that will be my check. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle. Tina?
Yes, I'm pretty blissed out right now because I'm at the Oregon coast and it's sunny and gorgeous. My Rebel Body Call didn't work out this week, but that's okay. And yeah, I didn't facilitate an empathy circle per se, but I made an effort in a group meeting where we anticipated some conflict to just encourage, like, speak a little bit and ask people to just be open to listen and to not react and judge, and that turned into an epic fail. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I was like, after the last meeting when it was like, oh, you can pick how much of a challenge you want for this round, I was like, oh, bring it on, I'll take a big challenge. I don't feel so brave anymore right now. So check.
Thank you, Tina. Aaron?
Hello, everyone. I'm doing well today. I'm staying at my mum's, and we just had a nice dinner together. And I also just recently had a nice buddy call with Shay. Lots of interesting topics discussed, and I found a lot of motivation in what we spoke about too, which is always nice. I ran 2 empathy circles this week. One of them was very creative and very insightful, where we spoke about the problems that young women are facing at the moment with some of the staff members at the school I work at. And even very, very interesting. And then another one I led, and I had no expectations for, and everyone got so emotional, and I was just honored to experience what happened. They were work colleagues as well, opening up with each other as if they'd known each other for years. It was a really, really beautiful experience, and they were very grateful to me facilitating it. So I'm starting to have more insight into the depth of this work, and yeah, I'm very happy to be here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. And Shay?
Yeah, I already said.
Shay, would you like to check in?
He's already shared.
Yeah, I spoke already.
Oh, thank you kindly. Monica?
Yeah, hello. I had a very inspiring and enjoyable buddy call with Ron, and last week with Freddie. Yeah, was interesting, and I think the main question I hold is what kind of listening is occurring and what kind of understanding does happen therefore.
Thank you, Monica. My little screens are jumping around. Deborah already went. Marta, did you go?
Yeah, thank you, Larry. I had a nice, really nice buddy call with Paul earlier today, and there's a team of Empathy Circle facilitators I support that are starting to do it in Portuguese, and we had our first big cafe. And there's all sorts of technical difficulties, which was hilarious, because the people that said it's their account, all of a sudden we get there, they don't have breakout rooms as an option. So it worked out fine. It was lovely, but it took some you know, getting lots of different rooms from different people and going out to different accounts and then coming back. And it just, you know, sort of dealing with a fire kind of situation. But it was, yeah, it was lovely. Happy to be here.
Thank you, Marta. And Edwin, do we go through the trainers now?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, Edwin, would you like to start?
Yeah, we had a cohort on Saturday, so that's ending this week, coming week. So that's so I've been facilitating that. And on Wednesday, we do an empathy circle on how do we go deeper. I think that was one of the questions actually. How do you go deeper with the empathic listening and the empathy circle? So we're doing an exploration of that. And I joined Lou in his Friday facilitator support group, and a couple people here were there, and it was really a great discussion. So really appreciated that. Sort of exploring some really difficult topics. For example, racism. Empathizing with racism is something I'm wanting to do, and is a sort of a challenging topic. So we had some exploration of that. So that was insightful. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Edwin. And Celine?
So I also participated in the Friday session with Lou. It's every other Friday, and I recommend it. It's stimulating, supportive, fun, even with Edwin there having his wild ideas. So it's exactly that. It feels supportive, and I really enjoyed that. And I have not done a circle or empathy buddy, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm complete.
Thank you, Celine. Anne? Wait,
You're
Anne.
muted.
I had a good buddy call with Cecilia last week in Sweden. Oh, you know, between Sweden and the UK. That was good. And Empathy Cafe this week, it was I organised one with an introductory talk by a speaker for XR and focusing on the children's fire for one of the events that's taking place to support actions around G7. So that was interesting. And it was good having a buddy session with a Marta as I was figuring that one out as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Graham?
Thank you, Larry. I missed the meeting with Lou on Friday afternoon. They are very, very stimulating. And I got my alternate weeks out of sync. And my empathy buddy was intended to be Dean, but Dean, as we will hear, is very, very busy. And so I missed that, Dean, but I'm around for any other time. And I had a very, very interesting buddy session with Larry, with Sam, and myself. Kind of almost accidentally all came together on Zoom. I don't know quite how it happened, but it was superb. And I'd like to join Sam's Empathy Circle on Wednesday evenings. So it's been a very, very interesting week. And one of the things that this Empathy Circle is teaching me is to address issues at the emotional level. There's one great difficulty I have with my ex is that resentments, not racism, but resentments and judgments keep coming up. And they are extremely difficult to handle. Anyway, it's been a robust couple of weeks, and I'm in a good place, and I look forward to our meeting today. Thank you.
Thank you, Graham. Did I miss anyone? Did I get everyone?
Dean to go?
Dean? I didn't get Dean. Dean.
That's okay. I've been super busy with caring for my partner, who's starting to become mobile now. She's had a new hip put in, so that was pretty chaotic at short notice. but it's one of those things that was needed and it's done. And it just so happened to coincide with all my planning and all my actions designed for G7, because G7 is happening down in Cornwall, which is in my neighbourhood. And I've had to redo everything, replan everything. So I missed both Larry and Graham's, and I apologise to both of you. I will be catching up with a buddy call with both of you because we need to deepen and get to know each other a bit better, and that's what I'm looking forward to. So it may be at the bottom of the list with the G7 and everything, but it's not off the list, okay, gentlemen? Just to clarify that, it's not dropped off the list. So apart from that, I'm feeling good. I'm really happy to be here this evening. Slightly vexed that some of you are sat outside and I'm sat inside, but then you've probably got a stronger Wi-Fi than me. So ultimate jealousy, thoroughly enjoying the fact that you've turned up anyway, even though you are outside. So I welcome you all, and I'll think that's it for all of us this session, Larry, isn't it now? Shall we move on to the next one?
Thank you.
Larry.
I could do a quick check-in. I just want to let you know.
Oh, sorry, Larry, I do apologize.
I've been, the time differences, obviously we're all, appreciating the time differences. And Lynn and I have been trying like 4 times to connect. And today we did connect, and it was an awesome buddy call. And then I sent out some of those emails to people trying to find, empathy circles to practice. And I was really surprised. I didn't expect this one. An old friend who, participated in NVC for years and trying to get her into the empathy circles and telling her how much fun it is and it's easy and you don't need a PhD for this. And so we did it, and she really enjoyed it. And she said, and that's it? And it's like, when you've done NVC for years and you've been really into that, you're just waiting to dig into these feelings and needs and make a list of 1,000 things. And it's very complicated. It can be, but I have such an appreciation for the empathy circle. To me, it is the jewel of what Carl Rogers was.
Marshall Rosenberg.
Marshall Rosenberg as well, but Carl Rogers, of course, it's based on his work. Marshall learned it, of course, from Carl Rogers. But anyway, the essence of it is that, when a human being really has something they want to communicate, if the listener decides that that's not quite what they really wanted to say, and I'm pretty sure I've got a better idea than you do what you're really feeling, that is such a not wanted thing for that human being. They want to be heard, and that is evident in an accurate reflection that doesn't change anything, that allows that human being to be exactly where they are without someone trying to fix them, So I just want to stress that point. I love this. That's my check-in. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. It's one of those skill sets that it's very easy to learn, but it takes a lifetime to master. That's the beautiful simplicity of it. So the questions that we have put to us about, there's 2 questions actually from last week. One of them was, as Edwin addressed earlier, have you had any insights on deepening the empathy circle experience? Well, personally, it's literally putting it into practice. And Edwin, being the super creative genius that he is, has already come up with a new circling process that's going to be happening. I believe it was on Saturday, Edwin?
New circling, on the going deeper?
Yes.
That's on Wednesdays.
Oh, Wednesday. I do apologise. So is that this Wednesday?
This Wednesday, yeah, for the next 2 Wednesdays.
So if you would like to take part in that, that's up and running. And the other point that was mentioned was, how do we best address the barrier of people who don't want to join an empathy circle because they feel victimised by another participant? And they feel that they are conceding to them by participating. So this came up by reading some of the comments why people didn't want to join their Santa Cruz empathy circles, remediation circles. I myself have had this experience with the remediation circle process, which is quite an in-depth process. And you get so far into the process and then you suddenly find out one person reacts violently against the process and then it kiboshes the whole thing. Edwin, would you like to speak about your experience in Santa Cruz?
Oh, I would say that, yeah, this was, this is more dealing with an empathy, restorative empathy circle. So dealing with conflict, you want to bring the parties together for a restorative empathy circle. And it is difficult if people aren't familiar with the practice, and you can bring people in. But that's why, like in an XR group, to start with empathy circles from the get-go, like the group gets formed, do empathy circles before you get into difficult topics, maybe have an agreement. Like if we have a conflict, we all agree that we're going to bring it into the empathy circle. So that way you sort of build trust up front. And then otherwise, yes, it can be challenging to get in a conflict situation. People are angry with each other and they say, no, I'm not going to talk to this person. And so you have to kind of develop that trust. And so, yeah, it can be challenging, but setting the kind of building the trust up front. Do it before the conflict, well before the conflict, build that trust, build that experience. And even have an agreement, like in the XR Empathy Circle work group. I don't know if people have noticed, but there's a line there that says, we agree that any conflict we agree to bring any conflict into an empathy circle. So have that agreement up front. Yeah, so those are just, there's a lot more to it, but those are just some tips.
Yeah, I have to echo what Edmund said. It's far better to do the preventative work, as in like, to open up people understanding each other before you actually get into deep work within the XR groups or in other self-organizing systems, because that way you understand each other's strengths and each other's weaknesses before you actually find them out the hard way. That way you can actually resonate with each other in a stronger way. I think that's addressed the two questions. Shall I pass on to you now, Anne? Are you ready?
Yeah. Okay, so this evening we're going to go into the breakout rooms. I know it's morning over there or afternoon, but it's evening here. We're going to the breakout rooms so that you'll have a chance to practice facilitating again a small empathy circle for about 20 minutes. For part of that, there are a few things. Firstly, you'll be doing the how-to method again. And I would try not to go over 5 minutes with that. And the participants, the trainer in your room will let you know the timings, but probably about 3 minutes per person for each turn. And during that circle, you'll have a chance to set your own topic that you want the circle to be talking about, but also you'll have the opportunity to be given challenges if you want them, and you can choose a challenge from the trainee or trainer in your room and choose the level. So 0 would be no challenge at all, and 5 would be a very strong challenge, or a very high level of challenge. 4 high, 3 medium, and so on to low, lowish. So you choose how much challenge, if any, you would like. And it's also might be worth letting the trainer know what you particularly find challenging or you're concerned about finding an issue. So we'll go into breakout rooms. Have I missed anything, Edwin?
I did post a link in there to the challenges that was in the email. So hopefully you had a chance to review the challenges, so you can sort of dial up the challenge or just let the trainer just give you one sort of randomly. And I wouldn't do a high level. A high level is like, it doesn't work, screaming and yelling, and it all just kind of blows up. So, it's kind of start with sort of a low or medium or something like that. Yeah.
And when you've done your facilitation turn, you'll have a 5-minute debrief session at the end where you will give your personal reflection about how your facilitation went. And other members of the room will also give you some feedback, and then the trainer. So you'll have a short debrief section as part of your overall time. And then at the end of the breakout room, you'll have 10 minutes altogether to share your experience of that process and how it was and discuss. Okay.
Okay, ready for the breakout rooms, Anne? Then there's a couple of people couldn't make it. Michelle still has the other Michelle from Clark has had scratched her eye, couldn't make it, had an infection. Someone else couldn't make it. So we only have 4 breakout rooms. So we're going to have Anne will facilitate one, and I'll join you in that one. Then Dean, and then Larry, and then Graham, and then Celine will be sort of a support for Graham, if that works. So we're not doing the 5. We only have enough for the 4 groups. So I'll give it, we have about an hour and a half, and then about 10 minutes before we close, I'll send out a notice to let you all know to kind of be sure to kind of wrap up. So I think we're all set to go, and here we go into our breakout rooms, and your group will stay here in the weight room.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that's us, isn't it, Edwin?
That's it. That's
the 5 of us.
5 of us.
Hi, Monica. Hi, Aaron. Hi, Paul.
Sorry, can I say, like, I don't want to stay in the group that's recorded. Can we change that?
Edwin, you're on mute at the moment.
Yeah, I'm going to move that around.
Thank you.
Move to 1. Shoot, wrong.
Also, I'm just going to pop to Lou if that's okay. I'll be back.
Okay. Do you want to take a very quick break, Paul? Well, seeing as other 2 are, if you need to get a drink or stretch or dance, you can entertain us if you like. But
Okay, shoot, broadcast.
is someone else coming to join us?
Yeah, I brought Tina in. Hopefully that's okay. Hey, Tina, are you there? Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Am I supposed to be here?
Yeah, it was.
Yes.
We're recording this room, so hopefully that's okay for you. So somebody else was uncomfortable with the recording, so wanted to be put in another room, so we pulled you out. So I just kind of grabbed you.
Are you happy with that, Tina? You seem to have frozen. Are you happy with being recorded?
Yes, I was
great.
Saying I'll try to say smart things for that purpose.
Just hold up the sign. It can be.
You
We're
aren't
just taking a
driving,
break. Yeah, we're just taking a break.
I thought you were in a car, but you're not, are you?
I'm in a car, but I'm parked. I'm not driving.
Okay.
Yes, we packed up our tent and everything in the morning, drove to the nearest town, and now I'm just sitting in the car. And
okay, so Aaron just nipped off to the loo. We'll give him a moment. Okay, so let's get started. So we'll take turns, and you'll choose, as we were saying earlier, the topic for your empathy circle. You'll get another chance to practice delivering the method, and additionally this time choosing a challenge level. So maybe it will be most efficient if we just say which turn we would like to take. Anybody offering to go first, to be the first facilitator? Second, third, fourth. Paul, you're muted. Aaron, you're muted.
I don't mind when I go. I haven't thought of a topic yet.
Okay. Anybody happy to start?
I can start.
Okay. So if Aaron goes first, who would like to go second?
I'll go second.
Okay, Paul, and then Tina. So you all have 20 minutes to do the method. So I'll set the timing for your overall session, and it's up to you to time for the turns in the circle. Aaron.
Sorry, I didn't quite.
My phone's being naughty.
Okay.
Aaron,
So
over to you.
Welcome
Oh,
everybody.
no, first of all, sorry, Aaron. What level of difficulty would you like for your challenges?
Could I have a 3, please?
Yeah. And is there a particular aspect that you'd like to be challenged on? Is there something that is a concern that you'd like to practice?
Nothing stands out to me that I'm particularly worried about.
Okay.
Is that unhelpful?
Right.
Shall I pick something to make it more? Is it
It's
easier?
fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay. So I'll start by explaining the how-to of the empathy circle. There are 4 roles in the empathy circle. One is facilitate me on this circulation, where I'll be doing the timings for each of our sharings, and I'll also just be making sure that things flow nice and smoothly. The second role is an active speaker. This person will have a certain amount of time. Tina, would you mind muting, please?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No problem. So the active speaker will have a period of time. In this empathy circle, it will be 3 minutes each. And the topic, which I'll allude to in a second, will be opened, and the active speaker will be able to discuss around this topic for about 3 minutes. It's important that the speaker speaks within sort of smaller chunks, because the active listener, that is the third role, will have to reflect everything that the active speaker says to the best of their ability without adding or taking or trying to take away or adding judgment or question on top of what the active speaker did share. And then the final role is the passive listener. So that'll be the rest of us that aren't within the active roles. And we just listen quietly and observe. These roles will rotate around us. That's all now, apart from I just need to talk about the topic in which we'll be sharing. And what I thought, I hadn't thought of one before, but what I thought would be quite interesting is that there is debate as to whether it is ethically correct to own a house pet. This is a debate which some people have due to the cost to the environment of having to feed the animal, and there's lots of different discussions around it. So I thought that'd be interesting for us to discuss today. To start off, would anyone like to be the first active speaker? And I will act as the first active listener to show sort of the format of the reflection and what that sounds like. Would anyone like to be the first speaker? Paul. So I'm going to start the time. So to sort of make it a bit more concise, the topic is it a good or bad thing for the world for people to own house pets?
And how long are we doing for?
3 minutes each.
3 minutes. Okay, thanks, Aaron. I don't have any really strong feelings about this. I think that if people have pets, they should be allowed to keep them. I think the possible question might be around whether people should be getting new pets and maybe we should be breeding more animals. So I'll just pause there, and I've got more to say.
So you said that you don't have very strong views and that people who have pets should be allowed to keep them, but your views are different on as to whether we should be having more pets and we should be breeding more of them.
Yeah, so I don't think people should be having to give up their beloved pets. I think there's obviously also a massive balance here with overall well-being of all species, and humans bond very closely with animals, and therefore is an established ongoing kind of well-being value which should be taken into account. I'll pause there as well.
What I heard was that, yeah, you reiterated that people should be allowed to keep their beloved pets, but there's a well-being of the animals that are kept, which and bred, that really needs to be considered seriously. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah. And I think regarding, I mean, obviously the background behind this is the impact that pets and any species has on the environment in terms of the main problem of climate change. But my main philosophy there is systemic change rather than individual action. So I think, yes, we should be thinking about this in terms of the whole system of keeping within the planetary limits, but that should not be an individual responsibility action focused approach. We should be all working together to decide together what we should do. It shouldn't be on each individual person to decide.
Okay, so the along the point of interest of the main problem you said, which is the climate change which is occurring, you don't think that this is an issue which needs to be addressed on the individual responsibility level. It's a systematic change, and that any decisions which need making along this topic, that's time. It's not up to the individual to make their own choice and to have their own individualized responsibility, but it's a decision that we should all make because it's sort of come to a common understanding.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. So the way that this would work now is that I would become the active speaker, and the active speaker chooses their active listener. So now that we've seen what that looks like or sounds like for someone to listen, I'll now choose a listener. So Dina, please may you be my listener.
Sure.
I think I'd like to go next.
Oh, okay. The way that the system works usually is that we'll sort of rotate, and the listener has the decision. Sorry, the speaker has the decision as to who they want to listen, but we'll make sure that we rotate, and that it's that you have the opportunity to be a listener and a speaker both soon. Is that okay?
Okay, thanks, Aaron.
No worries. Tina, I'll start my timer now.
Okay.
So I first became aware of this debate as to whether it was ethical or not to own a house pet when my meditation teacher, who's a Buddhist, expressed her views. They were quite radical. I'll pause there.
Okay, so your first exposure to the subject matter came through
meditation and your Buddhist teacher, whose methods were quite radical. And you're going to elaborate on that.
Her views were quite radical.
Yeah.
That in her view, the if we are a soul which gets reincarnated, being reincarnated as an animal is sort of more towards the idea of hell in comparison to being incarnated as a human, because animals live between basically the place of craving and aversion, which is the Buddhist definition of what causes suffering. I'll pause there.
Wow. So from your Buddhist teacher's view, that there was a connection between how the Buddhist definition of hell being craving and desires, and that would be what would happen to a human soul if they were to be reincarnated as an animal.
Yeah, so
is that correct?
Nearly that, but yeah, pretty much spot on. That animals basically are all almost always seeking either warmth or food or some sort of stimuli to either avoid danger or to seek sustenance and nutrition, something along those lines.
Mm-hmm. So you're describing like how animals' needs are evolving around either shelter and protection or food or sustenance.
Yeah, and as humans, we have the power to be able to understand our own existence and then accept whatever circumstances we have. And this is why we are blessed to have the opportunity to transcend suffering. And that's my time just up. But I'd just like to sort of finish by saying, but in my meditations teacher's view, it's cruel to bring more animals into the world for because when soul created as animals, that is a suffering state for a soul to be in.
Okay, so you broke up there partway through, but I think I got it. So your Zen teacher's view was that humans have the insight to more acknowledge and process what's going on around us, and we are not quite so driven by that, constant need for either shelter or food, and that by humans choosing to have house pets, that creates more possibility for souls to be reincarnated as a house pet into suffering. Did I get that right?
Almost. I think the main point was for the humans that we are blessed to have the opportunity to understand and transcend our animalistic desires.
Yeah. So humans have the ability to go beyond being just suffering and food and shelter driven. We can transcend that, and animals cannot.
Yeah. Thank you, Tina. I feel fully heard.
Wow.
I'm not really very comfortable with this, like talking about religion. I don't believe in what you're saying, so I don't think this should be happening here.
Okay.
These kind of religious discussions. It's not what I'm here for.
I'm sorry to hear that, but in an empathy circle, we try and accept what everyone is bringing to the plate, and if you have a view that you'd like to express, would you mind please waiting till your turn to share, and then you're open to share whatever's live for you. But all topics are sort of welcome in a circle. So
can I go now then?
Well, Tina is now the active speaker, and she will pick who she would like to listen. So it will be your turn soon, and I promise. But it's up to Tina to decide who's the listener.
Okay.
All right, my turn.
Yes, please. Yeah.
All right, Anne, would you like to be my listener so you can speak next?
Thank you, Tina.
Whew, okay. So when we first started with this topic, I was like, gosh, I have nothing to say on this, but turns out I actually have.
So initially you thought when you heard the topic that you wouldn't really have anything to say about it, but now you find you do.
Yeah. So for one, I just want to say real quick, I was really inspired by what Aaron was sharing. That had not crossed my mind. So I want to thank him and his teacher for that.
So in fact, what's happened is you've been quite inspired by what Aaron was sharing, and so much so that you're grateful to him and his teacher.
Yeah, just for broadening my horizons. So what my thoughts on this were like, is it okay to have house pets in the light of climate change and like global collapse? I would have thought that that would be a smaller scale, like just barely looking at it scientifically, that would be a smaller problem compared to animal agriculture for food.
So you're grateful for having your horizons broadened by this conversation. And initially you thought it would be okay for having house pets, and you think that really the issue is much more with not house pets, but with farmed animals. I think you said.
I'm not sure if that's my perception, that I feel like that might be a larger problem that would need addressing first. And then after that, go after the house pets.
So you're not sure, but that's your perception that that's the bigger issue. So that would best be addressed first before house pets.
I think so. And the other thing with it is, so looking at not just like environmental impact, but looking at it from an animal welfare perspective, I think house pets generally are pretty well cared for. And so yes, they are used for human pleasure or human benefit, but farm animals are also used for human benefit, and then their body parts are used for human pleasure. And so I feel that also for me points towards like we need to address what's done with farmed animals first before we decide what we do with house pets, not saying that we shouldn't address that also.
So again, when you
that's time.
Again, when you think about it, the issue that draws you more is about the welfare of animals, and you think that as generally pets, house pets are quite well cared for, so their well-being is addressed. That isn't the case with farmed animals, and they both have human benefit, but because of the welfare issue, you think that the first place to address would be with farmed rather than farmed animals.
That is it. Thank you very much, and
thank you,
I
Tina.
feel heard.
Okay, so that's the end of your time, Aaron.
Okay, thank you.
So feedback time. Would you like to start with doing any reflections yourself on facilitating?
Yes, please. I noticed there are a couple of smaller points that I missed. Like I should have spoke about how I'm going to signal that the time is up. And also I didn't allude to the sort of formal ending to the sharing with saying I feel fully heard. But all in all, I thought it was an interesting topic, and the challenge did make my chest tighten, but and I don't think I dealt with it perfectly, but I thought it was it went okay. So I didn't think it completely disrupted the group. So yeah, they're my reflections.
Thanks, Aaron. Anybody else on some feedback to support Aaron with his development and learning as a facilitator in training? Yeah, Tina.
I think, Aaron, you did really well with the disruption or whatever. So I just want to give you a yay for you.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I felt very in safe hands, so thank you for that. And yeah, you have an ease about the way that you facilitate, which creates a good level of safety, I would say, certainly for me. The only tiny thing that came up last week as well is this use of the word passive listener, which I think that in the document it says silent, and I like that word slightly better because it implies that people are silent, but they're still actively listening. But it's a very minor point. Love the topic. It's much better than I don't know what to do to match it now.
Thank you for your feedback.
Edwin?
I'll go. Yeah, I'll second what everyone else has said. I think you also might have said active speaker. Some people start using the word active speaker. You can just say speaker because there's only one speaker. So somehow it kind of becomes a norm and everybody starts repeating it. So, but there was a little bit of a challenge with the technical issues. You know, your technical, there's a little bit of audio break, and that causes like stress as a participant. It's like, you know, oh, my hearing, I feel a bit stressed. And when there's conflict, then any kind of technical stuff just adds to levels of stress, you know. So yeah, love the topic. You could also mention it's or whatever's alive for you. I think you just said the topic and you want to kind of give everyone the freedom. And there was also when Anne kind of gave you that challenge, you said, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. So with the sorry, you're kind of giving sympathy, and you could, I try to just give empathy. It's like, oh, I hear you're feeling uncomfortable with the topic of religion, and then all the things that you said. So you give a little bit of empathy so the person feels heard, and that kind of calms, you know, oh, it's like, even though I have to wait my turn, I've been heard, you know, instead of, oh, you're feeling sorry for me. Well, sort of, so those are just a couple of little minor points. Yeah, but seconding what Paul and Tina said too.
Aaron, just so much has already been picked up of what I would have said again about the active. I picked up about not to use active speaker or passive listener. And to be, I thought that I love the way that after the first person you'd been the listener and the first person spoken, you did a bit of reinforcement around the method, and you did that very competently and confidently, I thought, and sort of indicated that it was a demonstration. I like that. I really liked your style. As Paul said, it just felt you held the space very, very well. And I think that's really important so people can settle into it and feel fully able to participate. I think you dealt with my challenges. I take Edwin's point, but you dealt with them quite well. That's good. I felt okay. There's nothing else to say after that, after what you'd said. And the topic was good. It was interesting. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I liked your own reflections too on the bits that you'd maybe overlooked saying. So it was good sense that you were really on the ball with what you're doing. Thank you. Okay, so that's the end of your time. So it was Paul next.
unmute. I'm very tempted to know what 4 or 5 looks like, but I'm not going to ask you to do 4 or 5. I'll go for another 3. Shall I just go?
Is there anything in particular that you'd like,
No,
that you're
no.
aware of, that you kind of have any concerns about being issues that you'd like therefore to
No,
deal
I'm
with
happy
now
with
in practice?
anything.
Okay.
Anything. Well, give it a go anyway. I'll find out.
Over to you.
All
then.
right. I've just got my timer going. Welcome everybody. So we're here to do an empathy circle. I'll be taking you through this. I really find empathy circles so crucial to what we need in terms of understanding each other and also making democratic decisions. So which is something I'm very interested in, and I do feel that listening, active listening in the way that we're going to do this today is a foundation to this. So the way that empathy circles work is that one person will be a speaker, and I'll give a topic shortly, and you'll have a period of time. We're going to do 3 minutes today to choose. Well, you choose an active listener, one of the people in the group, and they will be your active listener, and you will speak in stages, so maybe 30 seconds at a time, and then pause, and then they will reflect back what they've heard. And if you're the active listener, the idea is you just listen to what's being said and then repeat back. You can use their words, or you can use your own words. It doesn't matter, as long as you're conveying the essence of what you've heard. It's not about adding your own thoughts to it or going off on a different direction about what you might think. It's just very much listening to what they're saying and reflecting that back. And you'll find as you do this, if you haven't done it before, that you really get a real sense of being heard if you're the speaker, and a real sense of really learning how to listen well, because you have to repeat it back. So look forward to that if that's new to you. There are one other role, and that's the silent listener. So if you're not the speaker or the active listener, you will be a silent listener, and it's really a valuable role as well to practice your listening, but also provide a really powerful space for the people who are actively involved. So the way it works in terms of the rounds, that the speaker will go first, and then there'll be an active listener, and then once that 3 minutes is up, hopefully the speaker will have felt fully heard, and we'll say that to the active listener, and then it's the active listener's turn to be the speaker, and then they choose who they want to be their active listener, and we just keep going round until we're done. Okay. If you're new to this, if you get it slightly wrong, I might pop in and say something just to keep us on track. That's my role, so don't be afraid to hear interventions from me if they're necessary. Okay, I think that's probably it. Tips if you're the speaker is just regularly pause, so that the person actively listening doesn't have to remember too much. Yeah, if you're listening, just put things back in your own words, but if you've got the essence of what they're saying and you've really paid attention, then you'll be fine. Okay. So the topic, I'm going to pick something slightly less contentious. I thought it would be quite nice to share a little bit about how we all keep healthy. So that can be physical health, mental well-being, whatever you feel is important to you about looking after yourself. So I'll be the first active listener, but can I invite somebody who'd like to speak first, and I'll be listening to you. Edwin.
There you go, last time.
Great. Okay, I'm just going to set the timer, and when you're ready, 3 minutes.
So how to keep healthy. Yeah, the first thing is my partner, Joan, over here. She's a nurse and super into organic food and healthy food. So she really keeps us on track for eating healthy. So that's to begin with.
Thanks, Edwin. I'm hearing one of your main approaches is having the benefit of Joan in your life, and she is keeps you on track in terms of eating organic food.
And also she's a nurse. So she was an infectious disease nurse and is retired. So she's got that medical background. So when there's like health issues, you know, I always can count on her to kind of give health kind of feedback. Yeah, and that, and you know, diet and exercise and just health in general is something she's like really passionate about. So, and health education, she's saying. Health education is like really important to her, and she's a teacher as well. So she's kind of giving me the feedback here.
Well, I'm getting that you're not only telling us, but we're also getting a demonstration of this this coaching in practice. So Joan is also a nurse, and so you get medical support and advice, really present in the family. So that includes diet, exercise, and you know, just really staying present. And also Joan's a teacher as well. So I think I heard that. Very able to put it over effectively as well, so you understand it.
Exactly. And she's really mistrustful of doctors because she's been in the health field for so long. So she always wants the top cream of the crop, you know, cream of the cream. So they got to have gone to Harvard. They've got to have gone to all the elite universities, you know, for their training. And she really, you know, makes sure she's got the best doctors.
So I'm hearing that Joan also has very high standards as well. So doesn't just listen to any old doctor, will seek out the people who are at the top of their trade and do the research. I'm thinking that will enable you to get to really the very, very, very best information, and you get the benefit of that, Edwin.
Yeah, and then also I go running every day, every second day. So yeah, Anne, did you have something
do you need to come in?
Yeah, I kind of think that really I'd rather I believe in the National Health Service and supporting that. I don't believe in just going for the best and being in control. I think we all should have the same.
Okay, thanks, Anne. I really get that intervention. I'm going to ask that we stay on the process of the empathy circle and allow Edwin to complete his round, and then when it's your turn, you'll have the chance to come in and say your thoughts, and we'll be listening to you. Hope that's okay.
Okay. All right then. Thank you.
Edwin, do you want to just complete your last bit, and then we'll finish off your round?
You know, go jogging, running. We have a really beautiful bike path nearby that you know, we can go for runs, and it's nice and cool here in the Bay Area. You know, it's not, so it's kind of a nice running area.
So I'm hearing that you actually practically go cycling and running, and I'm also hearing that the area that you live in is actually really quite conducive to all of that outdoor exercise. So I'm hearing that you probably enjoy that quite a lot as well.
Yep, I feel fully heard. Thanks.
Thanks, Edwin. So as is normal with the empathy circles, I'll now be the speaker, and I'll invite an active listener. I also remind everybody that if you are taking part in the circle, to stay present, and it really helps keep the space held for everybody, even if it's not your turn to be active listener. So thanks, Anne. If you would like to do your reading once the session is finished, we can stay on track here. So I'd like to go next, and then Anne, would you mind being my active listener, please?
Love to, Paul.
Thanks, Anne. So I'll just set the timer for 3 minutes. I'm really interested in this topic of keeping fit because I'm getting a little bit older now, and I always used to keep fit and healthy by playing sport or just being active generally. And now I don't play so much sport, so I have to, for the first time in my life, really make an effort to stay healthy and bring things in, which is not something I'm used to.
So you're quite interested in this topic about keeping fit, especially now you're getting older, because you've always been able to take care of your fitness by just generally being active in the sports you do. But now you're finding you're going to have to make a particular effort to do something about it.
Yeah, thanks, Anne. And I think what tends to work is if I just weave it into the normal kind of day-to-day activity that I've got. For example, if I'm working somewhere, then to cycle to work or to walk or run to work, because then it's just taken care of. And the other stuff is around if I could so maybe join I don't do football, but maybe a more leisurely football game, or maybe a walking football team or something like that, which would then be every week, and I'd just get that plumbed in. So that would be something that I'll try and do, I think.
So what you're thinking is the best way to do it is just to weave it into your general way, your daily life, by for cycling or running to work, and then maybe you need to add in a weekly football or maybe a walking football session.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and something else that I did try for a while was I bought one of these Fitbits, the trackers that count number of steps you make. And what I started to do is maybe before I started work in the morning, if I'm working from home, I just go for a little circuit and then do a couple more of those each day. And that would get me over to the 10,000 steps, nominal amount of activity, which wasn't too difficult to weave in, actually. And it did kind of keep me a little bit more active. So that's another thing I've done.
And something else you've tried just to weave it in is you bought yourself a tracker, a Fitbit, so that you could see how many steps. And I sense that you used it to motivate you to go for a kind of a circuit walk before work, and then a couple more during the day, just to get your 10,000 in to your general life.
Thank you. I'm feeling also that I'm feeling very jealous of Edwin, and I could do with a Joan to keep me on track. That's time.
Paul's jealous of me. He wants a Joan to keep him on track with his health. Paul. Oh, sorry. I thought I was
yeah. So I
muted.
think Edwin reflected that for you, and you quite like a Joan, really. I was a bit jealous of Edwin there.
Thanks, Anne. I feel fully heard, and Edwin as well. Thank you for jumping in, even though that's not part of the Empathy Circle procedure, as you well know. But we'll allow it. Anne, it's your turn to be the active speaker, the speaker, and you'd like to choose an active listener.
Well, actually, it's now the end of your time for the circle. You need to move on to your debrief. So if you'd like to start, Paul, with your debrief of
Are you sure about the time, man? I have like 10 after, 12 after. It sounds like I don't.
Oh, I changed my time. You're right, Edwin. My mistake. My turn. Would you like?
Okay.
Tina, would you be happy to reflect? Could you manage to reflect what I said already?
I shall give it a go.
Okay. When you're ready, Anne.
Yeah. Yeah, I messed up then. I decided to change the way I was timing it. So I timed the 15 minutes and then 5 minutes separately. And I'd forgotten that I'd done that. So when it said there was only 2 minutes, I thought, oh my goodness, I've let you overrun.
So you're a little bit hung up on your getting the time a little bit tangled here. I hear, Anne.
Yeah. And so fitness, well-being. Oh, what an important topic. Yeah, just wondering how you can't remember exactly how you'd worded it, how Paul had worded it, but I like it. And for me, I've kind of made a shift in this last year. I really prioritize now that I have my swim. I go for a daily swim, and it's really, I know that it's really taken care of, not only some of my physical health, but my mental well-being. And if necessary, whenever I can, I make sure other things, if necessary, weave around it. So it's been interesting. I'll pause.
So you see the importance of taking care of your health, and you've chosen swimming for that, both for physical and emotional health. And it sounds like you are not willing or trying very hard to not sacrifice that or move it around other things, but you're feeling it important enough that you plan other things around it.
Yeah, so I'm learning to do that, partly because it's very dependent on the tide and it changes every day and every week. And a part of it for me is not only the way I'm doing it is by swimming outside in the sea. It's like an immersion in nature, and I'm kind of training myself to really notice and be mindful of whatever nature is going on around me, whether it's the waves or the sky or the rain or snow. Thank you.
Wow. So I hear that your swimming goes quite a bit beyond just the exercising part. So for one, the fact that you're swimming in the sea takes more challenge because the tides change. And then you're also being, you're connecting with the sea as part of nature and embracing the mindfulness that comes with that, noticing what the water is doing, what the sky is doing.
Yeah, and about the tides, if I can just clarify that, the important bit is that I have to, in order to keep doing it, I have to make a really big, for me, prioritize myself and my well-being, to really try to adjust other things around my swimming, because the swimming won't adjust around other things. So in a way, that's a really useful part of it, of my taking care of myself.
Okay, so you're also getting kind of more training and discipline and commitment in taking care of yourself by having the ocean as your exercise medium.
Thank you. I feel fully heard.
Thanks, Anne. And just a great example there for everybody as well. If you don't feel completely fully heard, it's okay to just repeat it back as well, just to make sure that it lands completely. Thanks, Anne, for demonstrating that. Tina, if we've got time for another one, would you like to choose an active listener?
No, you don't have time. Sorry.
Okay. Sorry, Tina.
That's okay.
All right.
So, Paul, feedback.
Yeah. So my review, I felt the intro, I felt reasonably okay with that. I felt we covered most of the ground. I did wonder whether I went over points a couple of times, and that would be necessary for new people, but not for people who are a bit more experienced. With the challenges, I noticed I think I had dealt with them, but I did feel like I could have felt a little bit like I was felt a little bit uncomfortable, you know, in the way I was saying it. So I just thought I'll learn how to do that a little bit more elegantly. I don't know, maybe you can say how it felt, but that's just something I noticed. But I spotted them, and I think we addressed it. So successful in that respect.
Anything else, Paul, you'd like to add?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Other people? Remember, this is always helpful for developing our practice. Aaron.
Paul, I really loved how you personalized the introduction to sort of give more concept of why we. Sorry, have I cut out? Sorry, I don't know. Did I cut out then?
You did, but it's fine. We can
I
hear
loved
you.
how you I loved how you personalized it, and you gave more of an idea of why we're doing this and what we could benefit from, which is so important for a lot of learners who are new. There were lots of great, I think you seemed experienced in holding spaces like this. I don't know if you are, but that came across. And with the dealing with the challenges, yeah, I resonate with that feeling that you had. And I think with more experience, as you relax into it, you could sound a little bit less, and I don't want this to come across at all too intense, but it was only slight, but a tiny bit passive aggressive in a couple of the tiny comments that were made. Just like with Anne, when she was reading, I didn't think it was necessary to, she'd already looked like she was about to stop reading. I didn't think it was necessary to like pin her out. But that's just how I interpreted it. Small things. But all in all, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tina or Adrian? Tina?
I thought that was amazing. I don't want to go after him now. It's like, yeah, you have this lovely Zen presence, Paul, that it's just like, wow. And yeah, I like the way you just put it when Anne was reading. I mean, I was giggling to myself because I knew it was fake, but the way you just said, oh, and let's just all try and stay present. And even you could have just left it at that. I thought that was a really lovely, just quick little toss it in there. Yeah, I thought that was great.
Okay, then I'll jump in. So yeah, it felt very confident and calm, which makes me feel confident. I mean, calm. It's like, oh, okay, this he's gonna kind of manage it, and so it made me feel like, oh, I'm good in good hands. Just like as Aaron mentioned, the why is really helpful. You know, it's like I was even thinking of creating a better script for this whole section. Really mentioned to add the why. Why is this personally important to you? You know, you added the democracy, you know, the part, the making decisions together, and you know, it's your personal reason. And it's really, that's kind of grounding. And I think you shared the results too. The results are which is another benefit. So that really helps. And I think, you know, to maybe build that into a training more. The other in terms of correcting Anne with the sign, the trick that I use is you did select her, you sort of corrected her and then select her. What I try to do is if someone's kind of acting up like that, I'll select them and then say, Anne, you know, it's really important that we stay present. Would you, you know, get a reflection on that? You know, so it's part of the process. And I use that a lot in a lot of different, so that we're staying within the process to do any sort of corrections, and you get a reflection on it. So it kind of sinks even deeper into the person's consciousness because they had to reflect it. So anyway, that's a trick that I use or practice that I use.
Can I just clarify what I understood what you said there? So what I could have done is not even mention the fact that I noticed Anna was reading, and just ask her to be my next active listener if it just happened to be that was where I was at in the process.
Yeah.
And then deal with it automatically by saying something in the next round about being present. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, Anne, I noticed you're reading a book and moving it around a lot, and I found that distracting. And then Anne reflects back, oh, you saw me reading the book and you felt distracted. And then, yeah, so that exactly, yeah.
Thank you. Anne, did you have any thoughts?
Yeah, yeah, I thought obviously, Paul, you're exceedingly competent, and I too love the way that you gave the purpose from the beginning of why do this practice. And in the way that you did it, it was good. I'm not going to say much because we don't have much time. I noticed that you didn't say anything, I don't think, when you were talking about the role of the silent listener. And I think it is always good to mention that when you're doing the introductions to convey that those people who aren't participating actively do have a role, and it is to hold the space, and that there's a huge difference when people's attention isn't there. And I kind of picked on that to use for my challenge, almost, to bring it forward. Because you do sometimes get people who will, you know, go off screen, or you've got no idea how much they're paying attention. And I do think it's valuable for everybody in the circle to be heard by the whole circle, not just the active listener.
Thank you. I did think I said that, actually, but I do totally agree with you, and I'll make sure that I do include that every time.
Sorry if I missed it then.
That's all right. Thanks, everybody. Very, very helpful.
And I loved your topic. Great topic.
John liked it too.
Okay. Tina.
Yes. Okay. So hi,
They're
everyone.
going to follow those two now.
Right. So thank you for still being here and being willing to join me on this journey for the next Empathy Circle. So for this round, I'm going to be your facilitator, which means I'm kind of just trying to hold everything together and just moderate through it. Typically, I would be keeping track of time, so everybody gets about 3 minutes to speak. And I'm going to ask to delegate that to somebody because I'm sitting in a car on my phone. That's usually my timer. Edwin, can I ask you to give a little wave or something when we get to 2 minutes, 50 seconds or so, that people can finish up in peace and quiet? Thank you.
Okay, will do.
Okay, so yeah, we're going to do this wondrous thing called an empathy circle. And it is like a journey to learning how to be better humans with each other, I feel. And the way we do this is that we take turns in participating in the following roles. So one person gets to be the speaker, and they get about 3 minutes of time to speak. And they get to choose a listener whose whole job is to really pay attention what the speaker is saying and to actually get what they're saying, so they can recap it back to them, versus thinking about, oh, what am I going to respond to them? But just really, if you're the listener, put yourself in the speaker's shoes if you can, and try to really walk with them where they're walking. If you are the speaker, keep in mind that there is a listener who wants to walk with you. So make it as easy as them for you can, like speak slowly-ish and take breaks so that they can recap in smaller chunks rather than trying to remember a whole lot. So I think those are the two roles for the speaker and the active listener. Everybody else who's currently not the active listener is still a listener. And I'm going to get the term wrong. It is a silent listener. And apart from kind of also still, it's a chance to practice your listening, even though you're not going to recap, and also to be just present with everybody, to hold the space, to pay attention. And yeah, this is usually a very rewarding experience, to where we just get to connect with one another and hear each other for who we are without judging. So I think, having said all that, shall we go? Anybody who wants to go first?
Challenges? I don't know, did you ask?
Oh, no, I didn't. Oh, gosh.
I didn't ask.
Yeah. I think I want to go going for Thai food. I want, well, not no stars for spiciness, but just a little bit, because, well, sure, give me whatever you think I can handle. But yeah.
So,
yes.
Korma.
No, give me korma with a little bit of cake. Okay, any first speakers, and I can then model what the listening is supposed to look like.
Tina, before you start, is there any specific area that you
topic,
would like
yes,
me
sorry.
to pick up for your challenge?
Yes, I need to learn how to deal with somebody who, or how to help somebody who's not staying with the process, because I had that experience and I found that quite scary.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and then I guess I also forgot that I get to pick a topic. So what's on my heart and mind right now, and I want to invite everyone to reflect on, is how do you deal with perceived lack of kindness on the part of others, and or whatever else is on your mind.
I'm happy to be the first speaker.
All right, Aaron, I am all ears. Edwin, will you start the time? All right, go ahead, Aaron.
So what my reactive response is and what my desired response are sometimes different. I'll pause there.
Okay, so you're noticing that on that thought, there's a difference between how you want to respond and how you actually do respond.
Yeah, I've got to the point in my personal development where I rarely act out negatively when people aren't being kind. But my internal process is definitely one of frustration, anger, and judgment when someone does something that's not very kind.
Okay, so you have learned as you're personally growing to not react outwardly to lack of kindness on others, but on the inside you very much still feel angry and frustrated. And there was another emotion that I missed.
Judgmental.
Sorry, say again?
Judgmental.
Oh yes, and being judgmental too. Okay.
But on the other hand, that is now, obviously it depends on the challenge, but it is quite subtle most of the time, that judgment, and I've got more skillful at dealing with it. But I feel like I've done a lot of conscious work on developing compassion and sort of that understanding that no one chose where they were born, no one chose their role models or their conditioning, and that has really helped me respond with understanding and empathy.
Okay, so you're feeling like as you're growing, your judgment is getting less pronounced, and you're beginning to have the ability to have compassion for people being in the situation where they are, and yeah, just being compassionate towards them, that they're not, and believing that they're not choosing to be the way they are.
Yes, and I find it particularly difficult with my loved ones, like if my mum or if my best friend or someone I love and I care for dearly, if they act unkind or self-centeredness or selfishly, it's a much more of a challenge for me to cultivate compassion for them, interestingly.
Okay, so you're noticing if those acts come from loved ones, that you're having a harder time acting compassionately towards them. Alrighty, so Edwin has put the time thingy up. Let me just make sure that I can wrap this up for you properly, Aaron. So you were just pointing at the difference between compassion for strangers and compassion to loved ones that you feel closer towards. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, I think he said. Did you say you felt heard?
Yeah. Yes, I do feel heard. Thank you, Tina.
All right. So before you pick a listener there, Aaron, Anne, were you pointing at your ears or kind of straining to hear, or can you hear okay?
I can hear. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
I wasn't doing anything. Rubbing my ear.
All right, Erin, go on ahead and pick a listener then.
Do I pick a listener or do you next?
Oh no, wait. Oh, my bad. Okay, I'm fired. Thank you. All right. Paul, will you listen?
Yes. Go ahead, Tina.
All right. Edwin, will you start the clock for me? Thanks. All right, I will not mute myself while it's my turn to talk. So yeah, this whole thing about how do we react to unkindness that we see in others. I have really brought up this topic hoping that somebody else has figured it out, because I feel I haven't.
So I'm hearing this was your topic, how to react to unkindness in others. And one of the reasons why you chose it is because you really are interested in what other people do.
Yeah, that's right. Because personally, for me, it just fills me with sadness, especially like if it's like what Erin said, these are people that are close to my heart, people I love, and people where I would just, yeah, feel like they shouldn't be like that.
So I'm hearing you, well, sound sad, but also use the word sadness when, especially when it's loved ones or people close to you that you perceive are being unkind. And yeah, I'm feeling the sadness.
Thank you. Yeah. And there is, I mean, my personal growth has gone to the point where I understand, like, yes, everybody's acting to the best of their ability and nobody's choosing to be unkind, but I have judgment sneaking up sometimes when I feel it's, especially if it's, in my case, it's unkindness towards other living beings, and humans are unkind towards them because it's more convenient for them, like out of selfishness. Sorry if that was a big chunk.
No, I mean, I think what you started by saying was that you do understand that everybody's trying their best. You know, they're really wanting. There's no ill meaning there, is what I heard. But when you see this unkindness or you perceive it, you do sometimes notice that you're judgmental, especially when you think about the fact that we're talking about living beings interacting here, and it's yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to say something about that as well. I'm not quite sure really what the point of being cut. If the people, your loved ones, they love you, what you want them to be as kind as well as love you?
That's a really interesting thought, Anne. And the way usually we have this in the circle is that you put that in the back of your mind, and when it's your turn to speak, you can reflect back on what anyone else has said, and that typically brings like very, very lovely conversations. So would you mind just putting that in the parking area until you're going, because I think it'd be good to hear.
Okay.
All right. And then, okay, time is up, and I think Paul reflected beautifully. I'm feeling heard and heartened. Thank you. Okay, now then, Paul picks a listener.
Yeah. Anne, would you like to listen to me, please?
Love to, Paul.
Thank you.
Edwin, you got the time?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So how do I respond, I think is the question, when I perceive a lack of kindness? For me, it depends on, and I don't think it should depend, but I notice it does, on what situation I'm in. For example, if I'm facilitating something, I think my reaction would be different than in some situations in real life. Not that the workshops aren't real life, but you know what I mean.
So what you're noticing is the way you might respond to a lack of kindness varies according to the situation, and it would be different if you were actually in a role of as facilitator than in kind of real life.
So I noticed that one of the reasons why I like to be in that facilitator role, even though I do find obviously very challenging, is that it almost creates a space where I'm actively understanding where somebody's coming from, even if I don't agree with it. So there's an inquiry into what's beneath the unkindness.
So one of the things I'm picking up that you enjoy, you like about facilitating, is that you can actually go into the space of actively understanding what's going on and kind of responding to that.
You know, I'm actually finding this whole process sort of unkind in itself. And I was wondering, could we just sort of open it up to have kind of a more open discussion?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Edwin. What do you think about kindness anyway?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe we could even have a different topic. You know, I find the topic is kind of boring in a sense, you know, it's, yeah.
Tina, help.
Yeah, I don't know, I'm seeing Tina kind of moving her mouth. I don't know what are you saying you agree with us, Tina?
Tina, you're muted. Tina, you're muted.
Sorry. So Edwin, to get back to you, yes, if this topic is boring for you, by all means, when your turn comes, you go to what's on your mind and what's hot and important for you right now. Keeping in mind with the empathy circle and welcoming everybody where they are as a whole person, I will ask that you extend your empathy towards those who are more boring at times too, because that's what we need to be. That sound okay?
All right, I guess so.
All right. How are we on time,
And that's
Edwin?
the time it just went off too.
Okay. Paul, do you want to finish your thought that you were at and have Anne recap, and then we
Yeah, pesky interruptions. I think, yeah, what I've noticed is that if I'm one of the parties, so somebody's been unkind to me, then I feel like I have to work a lot harder to play that understanding role, and that's something that I'm still working on. And I think one inquiry I reflect on is, what would I do if I was facilitating in this situation? And that starts to help a little bit.
So what you're noticing is that if there's a difference to how it is for you coping or dealing with unkindness, if it's actually towards you, the unkindness, then you find it more difficult, and you need to kind of work harder to be able to deal with it well. And one way that you're kind of trying to develop yourself with this, I sense, is that you can by imagining that you're in a facilitator role, and I'm adding in by stepping back, but that allows you to have a bit of a different perspective.
Thank you. Beautifully reflected.
And that is back to the timer. I think the timer went off as well this timer.
For real?
So it's time for your feedback round, your debrief. Would you like to start?
Sure. Let's see. Clearly, I don't know when my microphone is on or off, but that's just, if somebody picks me as a facilitator, that's what they're getting. One thing I'm noticing I find difficult is when you gave me the spicy, I was like, yeah, I know how I want to redirect, but how do I get in there? How do I like have somebody stop talking, start listening to what I need to say to them without cutting them off or talking over them? So that's my main feedback on myself that wasn't great, but also question if anyone has guidance there and how that could be done better. And yeah, other than that, I guess it was okay.
Okay. Paul?
Yeah, I felt really safe in good hands. I was relaxed. I didn't have any concerns that I wasn't going to be looked after. And in terms of the interventions, I think the way you did it was exactly. I mean, more experienced, the leaders here will no doubt say what alternatives there might be, but I wouldn't have thought being more ferocious than just waiting for the intervention to finish and then saying something, because it might upset the general kind of ambience of the day, the session. So I thought you retained that very well in the context of two people actually coming in and starting a conversation. That was quite a tricky intervention, much more than a Korma.
Yeah. I was just wondering, what do you do if you have somebody who doesn't stop talking, who just keeps going and you can't get a word in?
I found stop it, I mean it helps.
Okay.
At some point anyway.
Thank you.
But great, yeah, thank you.
Aaron?
So I loved how you started off with gratitude to everyone. That really stood out to me. That was a really nice touch. And yeah, the words you use are you're creative with the words in which you describe normal things like the roles, and sorry, and yeah, very calming, very, very soothing, and yeah, relaxing presence, which was very enjoyable to be a part of the circle. I did pick up on the fact that if there was a slight hiccup or a slip up, you took a bit of time to sort of like verbalize that it happened and to sort of like give yourself a little bit of a hard time. And I think perhaps it could be worth experimenting with letting those things just go and moving on as if they, it's all good sort of thing.
Yep, that's spot on. Nope, spot on. Thank you.
And yeah, I think the tone in which you took with the intervention, it was a difficult one, and I thought you got the balance between assertive and gentle just right. So well done.
Okay, I'll jump in. Let's see. At the beginning, you set the tone for what the facilitator does. I thought that kind of set the tone. I'm going to keep us in the process. So that's always helpful. Kind of made me feel okay. That's what your role is. I was doing the timekeeping and you kept reminding me, which was great because I kept forgetting. I would have forgotten a couple times if you so it felt like, oh, you're really making sure all the pieces are going. And I really appreciated that, those reminders. In terms of the correcting, again, I find it's helpful just to give a little bit of empathy, just to start off. Oh, I hear you're wanting to say something, you have something. We want to hear what you have to say. It's important, but we're just going to stay within the process. So it's just that initial reflection at the beginning I find can be really helpful to kind of sort of ground people. Know that they're, I was even thinking about that. It's like when when someone's reflected, they have to check if they're really heard, which makes them sort of, pause for a second too. It's just something I was just thinking about. Otherwise I felt in good hands, very, very kind, very kind hands. Great topic.
Yeah, Tina, I felt again you had this like strength in your presence that I got the sense, and clearly you're learning to do this, that you're not very experienced, but when you were, your responses, it's like you were really present and being authentic as you carried on, and I liked that. It helped to make it safe, not just a safe space, but a good space to be doing the work together in. Does that make sense to you?
That's a very nice thing to say. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, I like the topic. And I think that when you had two interventions, really challenging bits, but you dealt with them, I felt like you dealt with the first one so well, then you just got a more tricky one and you dealt with it well. I thought it was really quite competent. I bow to Edwin's suggestion of how to improve your response, but I thought it was good and effective. There was one bit where I felt that it would be good to say about people having time to finish off what they were saying, if they were either the speaker or the person reflecting, that there's time, there's a spaciousness in the process enough for people to be able to know that they can be sure that they've been understood and finish what they're saying or trying to reflect back, so that it's not, doesn't become a pressured environment. So okay, Edwin, would you mind saying how long we have before we're back in the main room?
We have 9 minutes.
Okay, great. So general debrief for everybody. How was it? What was the experience like? What are your thoughts?
I'm also curious what would help you prepare better for it, because that's sort of the main focus I'm doing right now, is how to prepare everyone to take part here, to have more of a checklist, that you can look at, more of how do we do evaluations. So there's a lot I want to do to make this a smoother, preparatory. So if anyone has, thoughts about that too. Yeah,
Tina's got a point.
For me, it's actually really good to not have so much of a checklist and having to wing it, because I feel like having this practice environment where we're just being thrown in the deep end and trying to swim, and then afterwards getting feedback and also listening to others do it. For me, that's a really good learning environment.
It's good to know.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but I think I would probably be a little bit more wanting to know, so I could prepare a little bit. But maybe not doing that is also an opportunity to find new ways of doing stuff. I guess if I'd known about we needed to think of a good topic, I would have spent a little bit of time in advance. But maybe you did say that and I didn't read it, so apologies if that's the case. But we came up with some good topics. I've enjoyed those.
Just to second what Tina said, yeah, I think this sort of this spontaneous way of learning in situ is really valuable, and I think I would create sort of a hybrid where I would have very minimal notes, and the more practice, the better, really. The thing that I enjoyed about all the facilitation, which has happened especially here, but I've found in all empathy circles, is the authenticity, like we mentioned earlier. And I think sometimes when we're too structured, that can be lost. So that's my feedback.
That's interesting that others are saying that kind of thing, because I have this quite strong sense that, yeah, there are notes and prepare them, but not to end up with a sense of sticking to a script, because I think what is more important is connecting with each other and being present and being yourself, not having your mind on thinking, you know, have I missed something or remembered something, but actually just to be there with what you have and to do that as well as you can and interact, so you're present to whatever situation comes up, being open-minded in a way. So good to look through things beforehand, but not to need to be too rigid. And what I personally find is that I can miss things. I don't know either if Edwin put out in the bit that went round about having a topic or not. And I would be likely to have missed it. Was it there? Did you have it this week?
I don't recall. I had sent out something about it. I think it, I can't remember.
Yeah. Paul.
I'd be interested if one of the things that I like about the empathy circles is that the process is so well formed and described that I imagine it's quite rare that people actually do go off. Although when I did one facilitator empathy circle, there was one person who hadn't got the gist of the listening and reflecting back at all. So I just wondered if, in your experience of especially doing things with a new group each time, or novice empathy circles, what are the typical things that happen that shouldn't, and if that's something for us to be aware of. Not something to answer now, but if there was.
Edwin, looks like you wanted to speak.
Yeah, I was just, we, I do a lot of open empathy cafes, so people are coming in with exactly sort of the scenario here. They're not familiar with, they're, it says before coming, read this, see these how-to videos, and they haven't done it. So over and over again, it's like people totally new to the practice. You have that experience too. And then it's like, oh, I'm not really sure what we're supposed to do here. And there's sort of an awkwardness, and so it's good to be able to present the how-to to them, but it's also nice if they've seen it. Some people have watched the how-to videos, plus they've seen some sample videos, and they come in, they're all totally prepared. So it's like a full, real spectrum of, and then it's always, if I have a sense of that they're not too familiar with it, is kind of have them go last and do. That's why we sort of model the listening, so they can pick it up. And actually, you can almost just jump in. And I always say before going in, the best way to learn is just by doing, and then I'll kind of jump into it just to say, I always forget something in the how-tos. So
I think I would say, Paul, is that when people are new, to be flexible about when you jump in, give them the time to develop as they go, as the circle goes round, and people increasingly get the hang of it. So not to be too strict on jumping in if they haven't got it right, or they're not reflecting quite clearly, because often what will happen in an empathy circle, you'll go for at least you aim to go for 3 times each, and during that there's improvement, there's learning taking place. And when they're really new people, to model at the beginning by choosing, if you're facilitating, then choose someone, or suggest that someone who's experienced as the first speaker, so they then get to see two goes of somebody experienced in it, which helps the modeling. So to tread lightly with stepping in, but then if it continues, the not very good. The other thing about it I think is really important is not to create tension around it. For some people who are very good at talking, they really sometimes struggle with listening and really listening, and are nervous about it. So should be tread lightly, to go gently with it. It's my sense.
Yeah, thank you. And I read that in one of the challenges documents that you sent around, this whole idea of allowing the circle to self-correct itself and then intervene if that's not happened. And so that's very much in what you were saying there. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm.
Tina and Aaron, feels like we've gone a bit off. It was more about your chance for you to talk about your experience here. And we've been talking about other issues a little bit, I think. Is there anything you'd like to add in?
I think the experience here was good. And I liked what was it Dean said earlier on about, how to prevent like major crises as kind of doing the prevention versus how to deal with major interruption. So yeah, I'm hoping I'll still be better to deal with worse than I had to deal with today with you here by the time we're done.
I didn't actually catch that last sentence, Tina. Would you mind repeating it?
Yeah, so I feel like this was a very good, very well-tailored experience, was nothing I couldn't handle. But my one try at empathy during this last week, it just blew way out of the water, and with a person yelling at leaving and me and another person could not redirect or so. Yeah, I hope that after all of our trainings, I'll be better at doing that.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Tina.
Okay, Celine, you were going to do our debrief.
Yes, sorry. So we're going to go around and you have 1 minute to share some of what you've learned, your insights from the circles you just participated in. And I am going to start and ask Paul, would you be willing to start?
Of course, thanks, Celine. I think I'm going to jump to a kind of a personal inquiry. Is the ability to empathize when there's an intervention and do it in a way which is really supportive of them without kind of putting people on the spot. So that's something that I'm going to kind of work on, and I've practiced that in lots of different situations. So that's something I've really picked up today. So I really found the way that we're doing all this is very experiential, and that's we were reflecting in our group that's one of the main values of this kind of work, is that we're actually practicing by doing it, and then at the end of that, even however well it's gone, and if it's gone well, and then you feel confident, and if it hasn't gone so well, then you've learned something that you can look out for next time. But either way, it works really well to actually just practically be doing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Aaron, would you please speak to what learnings and insights?
Well, yeah, to sort of reflect what Paul said, that that experiential learning, I can feel my confidence growing. I felt my confidence was greater today, and learning from others' mistakes as well is really valuable. I love the philosophy of connection that we're creating in and outside of this group, because knowing how other people deal with situations and spotting where they were strong and where they were weak, and as humans we have this wonderful ability to learn from both of those situations. So I took a lot in a concept, but I can tell that there's somewhere, and they'll come in handy in the future.
Thank you, Aaron. Let's see, Tina, are you hearing us? If not, I'll come back to you. Can you take a minute to tell us about your learnings?
Yes,
insight?
I can. Sorry, I was trying to multitask on a little phone. Yeah, I thought today was great. And just for me, learning by doing, learning by observing was really good. So yeah.
Thank you. Okay. And Joelle, how about giving us a minute of your learnings and insights?
Just that this is such a great environment to make mistakes and feel a little awkward, and maybe even have a subject matter that's a little bit kind of triggering. It's such a great environment to kind of work through and practice this type of stuff, and so enriching.
Thank you. Thank you, Joelle. Freddie, would you please share with us learnings and insights? 1 minute.
Yeah, I felt quite nervous to facilitate a circle of my own without any preparation. But I now feel more confident, and that the important thing is just to trust your intuition and focus on the feeling of trying to make everyone feel safe and just relax, rather than all that mind stuff. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Graham and Celine gave me some great feedback on how to deal with interruptions. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Freddie. Michelle, would you tell us your learnings and insights in 1 minute?
Yes. You know, this is actually my second wave of facilitator training, and I'm so thankful to be able to redo it, because it just helps to reinforce the stuff that I learned the first time, and it gives me more learnings, which is wonderful. So specifically about this experience, just like you know, others have relayed, it just builds your confidence, and that's a big deal for me. So thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Mark, would you tell us about your learnings and insights in 1 minute?
Okay, yeah, so I had a few. First one was to do with some reflection that was encouraging of an approach where the emphasis, I think it's similar to what Freddie was saying, the emphasis is on the emotional holding of the space as the priority over how am I getting this description of what everybody should do completely right in a way that I think I should be and what it should be sounding like. So it was great to get encouragement on the more, I would, yeah, the deeper part. So that was great. And so that was very helpful. And the other thing was, oh yeah, just seeing how some other people dealt with interruptions, and just to see how they did it. And I could say, oh, that's really good. Oh, that's great. To see how it can be done in a very positive, welcoming way. And that was very helpful to see.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Let's see. Ron, would you please give us a minute's worth of your learnings and insights?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, there we go.
What I did notice is that my energy flow, as I've said, it's pretty hard for me waking up at 4:30 in the morning and being ready to leap into practice at 5. And so I asked for to go last in the facilitation round, and I appreciate my group for giving me that. So when my time came, my energy levels had came up, they remained high. And then when we came back to this room, I've just noticed them sag again. But I did learn, one of the things I did learn is that I will be repeating the facilitator training if it's possible. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ron. Thank you for your effort too. Shay, would you please share with us your learnings and insights in 1 minute?
Yeah, so at first I was a little bit worried, like the situation of, wow, I'm tested by a few people and maybe they will try even to disrupt. And the situation was, I've been in school and being tested, and it didn't feel, it's something I want to do, but, and it's more, as it advanced, I had more insight about looking at it. It doesn't matter, yeah. It doesn't matter if I make mistakes. It doesn't mean I can learn from them. So just let it flow and try more to have fun and enjoy enjoy this meeting, not just look at it as this is a learning process, very serious learning, testing, but yeah, to have fun and have interest in that, and people are saying interesting things, and it's fun to be here. Yeah, so I was much more relaxed.
Thank you, Shay. Deborah, would you please share with us your learnings?
Yeah, it was really interesting tonight. I felt fine with the challenges. That wasn't a problem. I stumbled with my introduction, so I was less confident this week, and I think it's because I can't remember. I didn't set the context. I was sort of overly focused on getting the roles out, and yeah, it just sort of felt mechanical and rushed. Yeah, so yeah, but that's all good. It's all good learning. It's okay to make mistakes.
Yes, for sure. Thank you, Deborah. Monica, would you please share with us?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I appreciate to get feedback and the resonance from the others. That's very helpful. And I think every time it happens, there will come something new that is interesting to learn, to add, to do it differently. I'm leaving with a feeling of, it feels so calming to know that there's a safe frame. How listening and sharing is organized. Yeah, there comes a relaxation of, okay, I know I will not be interrupted, or I know I don't have to fight for being listened or to participate in the communication.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you. Okay, Graham, would you please give us 1 minute's worth of your learnings and insights, please?
Thank you, Celine. For me, that was a really interesting experience, and there's a common thread coming through here, and that is you trust the process, and you trust the support of other people, and I was there as a trainer. Supposedly, I know how to create and support a training situation, but really I don't. So my lesson is that I need to trust other people, and I thank you very much for supporting me, Monica, Shay, Freddie, and Celine. And without Celine's help, I would not have been able to do any interrupts. Because one of the things about interrupts for me is that it works counter to the idea of empathizing. And really that's what we were trying to do in the group. So it was quite a challenge for me to actually break out of the empathic process and go into role play. So it was all around a really good experience, and I appreciated it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Graham. Dean, would you please give us your insights and learnings?
Thank you, Celine. I would just like to say that it's always a learning process, even though I'm meant to be one of the trainers, because as we interact with each other, we cross-pollinate each other, and this cross-pollination is the greatest power that the Empathy Circle process has for me. To hear what I think reflected back from other people is always an insight to actually understand what I actually have been saying, but then to actually then have to do it for others is also quite freeing, because you then actually learn to hear yourself and what you think you've heard. So what I took away from today was the understanding that it's an ongoing process. We don't have to get it perfect, but what we have to do is be honest and hold the principles of the process rather than the letter of the law. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Larry, would you please share with us your insights and learnings in 1 minute?
Wow, I love this process. It was a beautiful circle and facilitation experience. I'm getting really good at remembering to do the timer. And we're only undoing probably about 10,000 years of domination thinking with some empathy circles. So, I still haven't gotten it perfect, in a month and a half. I completely forgot to do the challenges. And then when I finally did remember that, it was a challenge to the speaker who was speaking when I raised my hand and said, wait a minute. So I'm still working on it. And I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you. Minute's up.
Thank you, Larry. Edwin, would you please share your insights and learnings with us?
Yeah, so I'm in this section, I'm always looking at how to sort of improve it. And I had asked for some feedback, what would be helpful in preparing for this section, taking part or in facilitating it. And some things that came up were about not having it too structured. There was an appreciation of the experiential part of it. You're kind of learning by doing and not getting too focused on the structure, but thinking more about the authenticity. So I've made notes about that. There was, something came up about trust the process. It's also trusting empathic presence, because the process is trying to support empathic presence. So it's that presence that we're trying to nurture here. And then also about doing it again, you take the training as often as you would like. The more I hear every time people take it, they learn more. So it's like, and you feel more confident. You've gone through it once, so you kind of have more calmness about learning more, and also becoming a trainee, so that you learn by becoming a trainee as well. So you just learn by doing. Yeah, that's it, Celine.
Thank you, Edwin. And Anne, would you please share with us? But unmute yourself, there you go.
Well, I've been taken to thinking about some of the Extinction Rebellion principles while we've been doing this feedback session, and I think there's one thing that I've really learned in Extinction Rebellion, and it's really important, and I think it's relevant in this space, and that we don't need to get things perfect. Our toxic system is all about training us to do things exactly as supposedly they're supposed to be done. And if we get them 80% right, then, or good enough purpose for it to work, then that's good. And the effort that is taken to do that bit of perfection is counterproductive in many, many situations. And the whole thing about, we're challenging ourselves to do this. I personally am, to do this work, and knowing and having in my mind, I don't need to be perfect, but do my best and be there and be present, because none of us are perfect. So showing up in a non-perfect way is valuable for all of us. And it's
Thank
human.
you.
We're all human.
Thank you, Anne. I will go. In our group, one of the things I'm pondering as a result of our circle is I think it's important to practice the introduction. And what happened in our group for me was that I'm going to mention Shay's name. The way Shay did the introduction, I had this sense of, this is going to be fun. This is, you know, and it wasn't the particulars. I didn't really remember who's going to do what, when, or anything. That part kind of gets me nervous. But this is a great thing we're doing. That really worked for me. So I'm going to try to include that in my introductions. That's one of the things I learned. Thank you. I'm complete. And I'm going to send a text here. And I'm passing now to Graham.
So thank you, Celine. So to round off the session for today, are there any comments that the trainers would like to add? Any further comments? Anne, go ahead and speak. You're muted, Anne. You're muted.
I was really impressed by the people in our breakout room, how strong and competent and open and what safe environments, safe, open, welcoming spaces they created in their facilitation.
Lovely, Anne, thank you. Anybody else? Edward?
Yes.
Yeah, I just mentioned about promoting the cohort in terms of, I sent out an email, I think, about that we have, it's already a good time to start thinking about forming the next cohort. There's a Facebook event page for the, for the XR Empathy Circle Facilitator Training. And you can go in there and you can invite up to 500 friends on Facebook. It's just a good way, for the next session to, and I just did it. So I actually invited I think 1,500 people to the following 3 meetings. So you just go into Facebook, select invite friends, and then you can invite, especially folks around XR, but everybody's welcome. So just to kind of keep the momentum going, to think about that for the next session. So just wanted to add that. Thanks, Graham.
Thank you, Edwin. And Shay, you wanted to add something. Go ahead.
Yeah, maybe if you can speak, maybe in the next meeting or something, a few minutes about your recommendation. Yeah, the people who are doing this for a long time, how to deal with interruptions. Yeah, what we did today. So I would like to hear your recommendations. Maybe I missed it and it was.
One thing you can do is you can also, in the feedback form, write out the specific question, because we always look at those feedback forms and then try to address the question. So if there's like a specific question or related to a specific challenge, we can address that at the beginning of the next session. Yeah.
And can I also suggest to Shay that on a Friday afternoon, or at least it's 12:30 a.m. Pacific time, Lou Zweier holds an Empathy Circle Facilitator support meeting, and it is really very stimulating. So if you'd like to attend that, that might be good for you.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on. Next session is session number 4, and we will not be doing the how-to, but we will be doing, and therefore you've got a fuller a facilitation session, and we will be doing challenges. So you need to sort of think about what kind of level of challenges you would like, or specifically what type of challenges. In terms of your assignments for the next week, Edwin will send an email reminding you of your tasks, but they are basically to fill in the feedback survey, to do an empathy buddy call, and the names, recommended names will come up, but find any others you can find and have an empathy session. And the third one, so that's 3, is to attempt to facilitate between family and friends, try to set up an empathy circle. And just to close, if you could post a feeling in the chat. One kind of takeaway feeling. And I'm saying, so
Graham, can I interrupt you a minute?
You may.
Monica, did you get a chance to debrief, or did I miss you? Are you there? I think you did. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm complete.
Okay, thank you. But thank you for your care. So I'm hearing happy, hope, grateful, thankful, earthed, maybe grounded, relaxed, vibrant, gratefully tired. I like that one. Grateful. And this is likely to be continuing. So enriched and appreciative. And so can we please do our final jazz hands? And Tina, can you do your jazz hand? Monica, can you switch on your video and do some jazz hands? Anyway, thank you, everybody.
See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, everyone. Have a good evening.
Bye,
Or
everyone.
whatever.